that sexy new intro. I was watching the whole thing. It's my boy.
I did not watch it.
Man, this guy on our team made that for me, and I am very grateful for it. Look, thank you so much for being here. This is Sunday Night Teacher Talk. My name is CJ Reynolds, and me and the not so secret wife. She doesn't really have any hosting abilities, but she just chimes in every so often. So
that's true.
After 6 seasons, we decided to get her a microphone because she's reluctant to play a part in this, but I love it. And I want to talk about that for a second, really quick. Like as people are putting in questions, if you're new here, look, we'll talk about anything you want to do. This is around education, but there's a lot of things that affect your classroom and your ability to teach. So we're willing to talk about just about anything. I mean, I don't think we've ever been asked a question that we didn't answer or been asked something we didn't answer.
We've had a few that you just couldn't answer, right? That weren't like stuff like that. But
yeah, but
we always try and answer everything.
Why this is a communal activity, like to be able to partner with people. But with regards to my wife's reluctance to be on camera, this is
a topic.
Oh, this is what I'm starting with. Yeah.
Oh goodness!
And here's why: because I really think that my wife and I both took this thing called the DISC assessment this week, the DISK assessment. And Brody is texting me for some reason.
I think it's a DISC assessment.
You're right. What did I say? K?
Yeah.
DISC. Yes, correct. So it is a personality test, and I love that my
she
daughter
came in and said she was going to grind coffee.
Now she's grinding coffee out there. We got to get the old
That's
school.
a whole nother topic that we let our kid drink coffee.
Right. Nothing's getting in the way of me talking about this. But So the DISC assessment it's a personality test, basically. It's only 14 questions. But then what was the report we got back?
It's like a 22-page report out of 14 questions. And in the questions, you would just organize like some different, what do you call them? Like
different options, right?
Yeah.
So what do you most like and what do you least like? And then you have to put these words in order. It's super easy. And one of the things that I love personality tests. One of the things I love so much about them is it holds a mirror up to who you are. It lets you know who you are, what you're about, like what you're doing and things like that. So the cool thing in that is that like when we use this information, it really it helps us to figure out what part we play, right? So like as a teacher, I knew that I always just wanted to be a teacher. I didn't want to be a grade level chair. I didn't want to be in charge of curriculum. I didn't want to work at the district office. I didn't want to be like I didn't want to be in administration, right? Or any sort of leadership. I just wanted to teach. And when I look at those assessments, they always just show me. They always just go like, yeah, that was basically right. Like, now I think I've shifted. I think that there's different seasons in your life. And just because you took that, maybe you took a test 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, your life could be in a different season now. And some new things did come up. Like I see like this propensity, this capability for leadership, and things like that kind of growing in me, and then I'm developing those. But all this to say, when you go back to school this year, you're always going to be asked to do 1,000 things. And the more you know who you are and how you're made up and what you're about, it helps you to make those decisions quicker. So if someone were to ask me to like coach the football team, I know I am not a good choice for this. If you had a miniature golf team, which is always one of my dreams for teaching, that would be great. I would love a miniature golf team. Am I good at it? No, but would it be funny and fun? Yes. It's knowing your lane. And sometimes we need someone outside of us, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a coach, or just a basic assessment that's going to kind of inform us as to, bring the light some of the things that make us who we are. So that's where I wanted to start off this week. Look, before my wife picks a question, I just want you to know that anything that you might need is at realrapwithreynolds.com. You can sign up for our newsletter there, for our email list there. You can get mentoring there. So like that's something I don't talk about very much, but I do mentoring calls. If you're having a particularly difficult day or difficult week, or you're trying to get ready for the year, you can just go right on the realrapwithreynolds.com. You can sign up for a time, and I will get on the phone with you one-on-one for an hour And, you know, we have people that have done those for years, like just about every week for years. And folks that just do it one time. They just need to unload. They need to get a little bit of clarity. And so that's something that we offer. And then, you know, everything else is on there as well. But are you ready?
I am. Our next question, or our first one, is asking, I'm going into school counseling in grades 5 through 12. As a veteran teacher, what tips or advice would you have? Thanks. Love your content.
Wow. Gosh, that's such a huge age range, 5 to 12.
Yeah, that is big.
You know, when I think about counselors, let's get real honest for a moment. I just had a really great talk with a woman that I'm going to partner with on a project the other day, and she specializes in gun violence, but especially, or in trauma, but especially gun violence. And so we're going to make some stuff around that, especially in light of like losing 4 boys in a 12-month period last year to gun violence at our school. And so when I think about that, one of the things I was sharing with her that I think would be important to make, like, what if we made some content that was for kids? It wasn't just for teachers. Like we can make that too, but what if we made something for students? And she asked why I thought that was important. And I said, because every time there's a shooting, every time a young person's life is taken in our neighborhood, we bring in counselors, but no one ever goes to them. And by and large, there are even people in the building whose job it is to like work things out with kids that the kids don't go to either. And when we were talking about that, the reason why, this isn't like new for me, I already knew this, is the kids will come talk to us. They come talk to the teachers. They come talk to the people that they eat lunch with every day, that they hang with in the morning, that they talk to about Fortnite or movies or their girlfriend or whatever. That's the safe space. And so if I was going into a counseling position, to me, it is, you know, in any way that you can, it is making relationships with students. It's building those relationships. And that can be as simple as like just being out and about. Don't be in the office. Be in the hallway, saying hi to kids, asking how they're doing, help somebody with their locker. You need a tie. You lost your shoe, because, you know, that's a real thing. It is trying to connect with young people, because, in fact, we gravitate towards the things we are the most familiar with. And if you think that might not be true, I want you to think about anytime a kid has someone else sit in their desk in class, right? And you go, wait, yo, you're in my seat. What? Yeah, you're in my seat. My own kids do it. Like if my son has like a routine that like where everyone sits in the car, at the dining room table, when we watch a movie together. We don't like, you know, even there are times, and she's not paying attention, so I'll talk about her. When I'm on the other side of the couch and my wife comes in, she's like, yo, you're in my spot.
I do. We got a new couch, and you kind of took over my spot, and I'm on the other side of the couch.
Spot, and I was there first.
You totally jacked my spot.
When you look tired, I always go, do you want your spot back? But all that to say, like, it is creating familiarity with young people, so that when something does come up in their life, and it doesn't have to be gun violence, it could be like their dog died, their parents are getting divorced, they got an F, they didn't make the football team. You are creating the safe space ahead of time. You're building the ark ahead of time, right before the flood happens. That's what you're doing, and so that's what my advice would be.
All right, our next question comes from Zoe. We are expecting unusually high temps over here in the UK. What can I do to keep kids cool in my classroom during the last week of school? Yeah, she's ending her year.
Yeah. So funny that it's so different. You know,
fans.
I think in the past, I know fans work. Having just the lights off creates a sense that it's cooler.
That's true too.
Right? It's like not doing anything that's too like crazy where you're pushing kids and they're getting up out of their seats and their stations. It's like, and I think more than anything, it's identifying. It's not just lamenting with kids, right? It's not like, oh my gosh, it's so hot in here. I can't stand it. I know, guys, isn't it so hot? It sucks. It's noting, hey, listen, I know that it's hot in here. And I just want you to know that I know that it's hot in here. And so here's what I've done. I've tried to lower the lights down. We have a fan in here. We have
I would have like cool drinks. Like I just know when I am overheated, something cold to like help reduces like my frustration, my anger. Like when I get like that, like all the emotions start flaring.
All three of
for
you
me.
we rest of our we were out shopping for flowers yesterday, and I'm
I've gotten better
Brody
at
was
like not being so like, you know, dramatic about
Brode is
feeling
over the top.
The pressure from the heat.
His head catches on fire.
Yeah.
And Mar, like everyone's mood starts shifting too. So what I'm trying to think of is like when we've gone out places before, we used to have like those things, those like wraps.
Yeah,
for
but you
kids'
can't
necks.
get that for like. I just always think like a
I'm
cool.
trying to think of like what's a good.
Man, I would have like just wet cold paper towels even like something as simple as that can even help. I don't know what you do for in a classroom with a whole bunch of kids. I think freeze pops, I think water bottles,
that
like
too.
that
like some kind of like I don't know what they call them in the UK, but like popsicles, like some kind of frozen treat that's not necessarily ice cream, because that can be a bit, then you need like a utensil, but that's where I would go. And I think that shows a level of like, hey, look, I'm trying to love you, I'm trying to care for you, but we still have things to do. If anyone else has an answer to that, I'd love to know.
There's a bunch of things in the comments. Right. Someone said like cool melon, like a watermelon, like, and even you can freeze them. There's all kinds of things that you could probably do to freeze.
As wacky as my schools have
someone
always
said water
been,
pistols.
I've always had air conditioning.
No, thank goodness.
You know, water pistols are my jam. That could get a little out of hand.
There's so many different water squirters.
I'm not saying
nowadays.
Don't do it. You got to be the right kind of teacher to pull off a water pistol in school. And I would recommend
in the last week of school at that.
Yeah, the ones that look like animals or something like that. Because then I just call it water squirters.
Yes.
Because a lot,
Well, it's a whole new world.
It is. So we use crocodiles these days.
Oh my gosh, I don't have a question coming up because I was chatting.
That's all right. Want me to sing?
No.
Know the irony? I just peeped this. Right? Got this new shirt.
Whitney Houston. Nobody knows what it is.
And, but that's the song I'm always singing is. I believe the children are our future.
Oh, now you really are singing. Oh, heavens. I see, this is what happens. I can't chat. Okay, here's a question.
Yeah, sorry.
Yay, Miss Gonzalez. Thank you for saving us. She is asking, so glad you were back last week. Will you be doing any type of workshop before school starts similar to the one that you did last year in January? Yes.
So we are working this out now. I won't give too much away. I know you're
in the works. It's coming.
So here's what I wanted. It was already supposed to, like, we were going to drop it today. Like, we were going to tell everyone about it today. But what we're learning is that there's only so many hours in a day. I woke up at, let me break it down like this.
We both did yesterday.
And I'm not one to like wear the badge of busyness. I don't like being that guy. Got up at 4:30 in the morning yesterday, worked until 7 p.m.
Yeah, or
something like that. You were up at 5, did the same thing.
Yeah.
Then we tried to go to the pool last night with our kids, like at 9 o'clock.
Well, Saturdays are open till 11, so we thought it would be fun to do.
So all that to say, yes, I'm trying to figure out logistics right now, right? So it's like, do I want to? So for those of you that don't know, we had a teacher class off workshop last year. This year we're going to have a back to school boot camp. And I'm trying to figure out, I'll be real honest with you, I'm trying to figure out if it should be a 1-day thing, but that's a lot. Because I realized last year was a lot of stuff that I gave people. Or should we do it over 2 days, 3 days? 4 days is where I started. I'm not sure if everyone would show up for 4 days in a row, but it would only be 1 hour per night. It would, and then we're going to give a ton of stuff away with that too. Like materials, PowerPoint, all kinds of stuff too. So I'm just trying to figure out the logistics.
Make sure you're on our newsletter if you're not already signed up, or just pay attention to like all our socials and those things, and you'll hear about it. It'll be out there as soon as it drops.
Yeah.
All right. Our next question comes from Chris Carson, but we kind of already addressed this. He's asking, what are you wearing?
Let's talk about Chris Carson wearing stuff.
Yes. Are we allowed to talk about this?
I'm going to talk about it because it's one of the best things I've seen.
He already knows. He's laughing right now, I guarantee.
So there are groups of people from this podcast, or from this group
community,
the community that meet up during the week. And Chris is one of them. And I popped in. I haven't been there in a long time, but I popped into this like Zoom meeting that they had the other day, and Chris's daughter is talking about when Chris dressed up like Thor from Endgame, right? So Thor with the long hair and the beard. Oh man, magical. But I got this shirt for Get Your Teach On, because we had to wear band t-shirts, and Whitney Houston is the first two albums I ever owned were Michael Jackson's Thriller and this Whitney Houston.
And I just think it's black and white, so it goes with your hair so well. It goes with your gray hair so good.
Appreciate it, girl.
All right. Our next question comes from Shayna. She's asking, this is my first year starting the school year in high school resource math, teaching all grades, 3 different classes. Tips for a smooth, strong start?
So, oh man, Sheena, you're speaking my language here. So I think one, so in the back to school boot camp that we're talking about doing, I want to talk about how you can start your year off. Like, let us take care of your first week. And what I think everyone could do. Now, look, there's going to be some things that your school needs you to do, some policies, procedures, some norms that go with any school. But what we're trying to figure out is like what sets up the best year you could have. And it's a really strong start. And I think that can go cross grades. Now, look, some of the things you might just pull and implement them into your own thing. And some people might just go with the full tilt thing that we're talking about. So we'll talk about that more in the workshop, but it's really built around this idea of like knowing students, knowing parents, and sharing your excitement. I think one of the greatest things a teacher can do on the first day of school is just say, wait, before we get into anything, I just want you to know how happy I am to be here, how much I love this stuff, and how thrilled I am that you are in my class. That goes so much further than listen, right? Not playing around. This year, it's going to be serious. You're not in the 3rd grade anymore. This isn't 4th grade. You're in 5th grade now. And so that kind of thing is like, that never worked with me because it was like, oh gosh, we're starting with fear. Like, why don't we just start with love and see where that gets you? And yeah, you have kids that get like a little hype about it and stuff like that. But, you know, if you give someone a great present, you know, they get excited about it. They don't get all, you know, weird about it. So that's what I'm thinking with regards to that. The other thing is with as much as is possible, it is, I think, structuring your days and your weeks in a similar flow so that your students can find a rhythm and you can find a rhythm easier. When we try to do too many different things and we're recreating the wheel every day, that's what it looks like. It's too much. It's too much to handle. And so what you want to do is like have like on Mondays we do this, like to the most that you can, right? To the best of your ability. I have Mondays we do this, Tuesdays we do this, Wednesday this, Thursday this, Friday this. My week is set, and then in those days they are structured so that every Monday, first 5 minutes we do this, next 10 minutes we do this. It is in such a way that I don't have to recreate the wheel every week. And that saves me a lot of time, stress, and effort. I've even done this when I've taught different grades. So there was a year that I taught 9th grade, 10th grade, and 12th grade. And in that year, and I think I taught an elective also, I just ran those classes where it was different versions of the same thing. 5-minute pre-class, 10 minutes of the bulk of here's what I'm going to teach, a new concept, idea, or something of that nature. 20 minutes of you implementing that, practicing that, doing something with that. And last, like, well, I don't know, 10 minutes or something like that was kind of like winding up and checking for understanding, exit tickets, that kind of a thing. But it was every day. And it's what you do with that is dynamic, that's exciting. So like, but it's that discipline, like Jocko Willink says, equals freedom. And it frees up mind share.
All right. Our next question is coming from Go By Bike. It's asking for chat. I have 2 personal days. I did not use my days last year. When should I think about using them?
So this is a great question.
I thought it was for the chat.
It was for the
chat.
Was it?
I think, but go ahead and answer it. Yep, go for it.
Now I want to go look up Go By Bike because I want to know what that means. And I love that profile picture of the chain with the heart. It's awesome. Marley would love that.
Mm-hmm.
When I started teaching, I thought I would be, I did student teaching under this really incredible teacher, and he never took a day off. I mean, I watched that man come to school. He also wore a suit every day, suit on hair on point every day, walking in the classroom, doing the same thing every day. And one time he came in, he had the flu. And he looked like he was going to die at any second. Like, I remember just looking, I'm like, bro, I might have to just take over. I think you're just going to not make it to the end of the day. And he was so proud of that. And it really put emotion in my mind that, like, you don't take days off. You just come in every day, no matter what, even if you're about to die. As I got older, one, I realized how irresponsible that was. And that if you came to school with the flu, now, you know, how many other kids are going to get the flu now? And like, maybe they don't have health insurance and things like that. And the other thing was self-care had me thinking, like, man, when I just took a day, like I needed one, like it was like you know, that night before, or maybe even that morning, you're like, damn, yo, I could really use a day of not going in today. That was like, it just feels like it feels like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So when would I use them? I would look at the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, wait for that great day, right? Even if you're planning it ahead of time, right? And it's like, oh, next Thursday looks like, oh, what's going to be like only 75 and sunny. And there's a baseball game playing, or there's a movie coming out that I want to go and see, or I'm going to go do like, you know, some day drinking, or like get lunch with a friend or something. It's like, make an event out of it. But wait for that right day. But I would say use all of your personal days. We don't get paid back for ours, and we don't get them stacked once the end of the year comes. When they're gone, they're gone. So I think it's taking those days and using them to the best of their ability. But I always tell kids, like, the kids will say, like, oh, it's a half day this Wednesday, I'm not coming to school. It's like February. I'm like, bro, wait till there's a day in like May where the weather is perfect and take off then. Like,
John Lopez is saying in the comments, it's great to take a day for a case of intentional flu, complete with martinis, lunch, and creme brulee.
Yeah. Lopez and I send pictures to one another when we have intentional flu days. Yeah.
All right.
His eating is on point on those days.
Oh, he's the most interesting man in the world, right?
Certainly is.
All right. Our next question comes from Kate. She says, hello, all. How far in advance do you plan lessons when teaching a new unit or group of students?
Oh,
middle school ELA.
That's a great question. Kate, I would say I do. I plan the whole unit out about 2 weeks before I start it. And I do that in a very rough way. I think I'm actually going to do a workshop on this year on like how I lesson plan, because it's been asked for so many times, and I will have time this year to do it. But it's like, I basically use Google spreadsheet on one side, and you can just do this on a piece of paper too. You don't have to be so extra. Or sometimes I just go to, I think it's timeanddate.com, and I print out free calendars and I write everything on there. But what I want is all the dates, and then here's my start date, and then it's always 5 weeks out. All of my units I've figured out to 5 weeks. Here's when we have to stop. Then I go through and do like, what school events, what days do I have to take off because my kids have a doctor's appointment, someone has a game, someone has a presentation, dog has to go to the vet, school has off for a day because it's Columbus Day or whatever it is, or Valentine. Well, I don't really get off for Valentine's Day. I don't think Columbus Day is a thing anymore, but you know what I'm talking about. So it's it's figuring out those days, so then you can see how much time you have to teach that, and it doesn't like surprise you. I also want to plan that out so that I never end on a break. I never want to go into it. I will cut a book short to make it fit before break, because the last thing you want to do is take a week off and then you come back and no one can remember anything or remember a concept or whatever you were talking about. So, and then I just loosely plan out like, well, what are the big ticket items? Like, what do I want my kids to know? When are the tests? When are the quizzes? And then it's basically just, how do I get kids ready for that on that date? How do I get kids ready for this next thing? And that frees my mind up to at least know, like, okay, here's the skeleton outline. Then it becomes a whole nother thing of, how do we make this fun? How do we sprinkle magic on this? How do we make this awesome? And I think one of my next videos coming out is like, what happens when you've taught a lesson for a few years and it's a little bit boring and it used to be awesome. Like, how do you sprinkle some magic on that sucker and make it fire again? So all to come.
All right. Our next question comes from Miranda. Oh man, my computer's being slow and weird.
Singing time?
No. I can read it. We can move
Okay.
on. Okay, there it goes. Miranda is asking, her question is, I struggle with preparation anxiety and feeling like I am never prepared enough for the start of school. How can I be more confident in myself to try to stem the worry? Band camp starts August 1st.
So I love this question too. I remember my first year teaching in Camden. I was freaking out. I had 9,000 things, right? You know all the things to do. And I'm walking down the hall, and Mr. McDougall at Camden Academy, right? One of the greatest teachers I ever worked with in my life. McDougall's in his room, and there's like, I think he had like Tribe Called Quest pumping on the radio, like loud. You could hear.
I remember. I feel like he was just like relaxed and cool.
He had incense burning in his room.
Like he was just like jamming and relaxed, right?
And you would peek in there, and he was like dancing around and stuff. He had like that sick Egyptian like wallpaper his kids made for a project, and his room was on point. It was all clean, organized, neat, ready to go.
Otherwise, you're like,
and I'm like hey,
running around with a chick.
What's going on? What's going on here? And McDougall was like, hey, he just talked like, even the way he talked was like in such a cadence. And I remember he said, I guess 9 years in, I just got this on lock. And I just, that has sat with me. And I remember getting to a point where you're watching people run around the school like they're crazed. And I just felt like, no, I'm ready. So here's how you know. One, there's always ongoing work in education. Once we realize that, we can cut ties from this feeling that everything has to be finished, right? Like my room's never even where I want it to be in the beginning of the year. But is it ready to start school, right? So especially last year, when all of my stuff was in storage, I had to bring everything back to the building. Holy crap, that was a lot of setup. It was a lot of dusting. I've not been in the room for a year and a half. It was a lot of cleaning things because of COVID and just because it was gross. So it is knowing that there's always ongoing business. The other thing is you got to rig the game to win, right? So what I do is I make a master list of all the things, right? They can be real or imaginary. All the things that are like imaginary, like some things just aren't that important. And some things are. What is actually important and needs to get done now? And then what are just all the other things that are on your mind that are in your head? Like I need a new furnace filter and the hose broke on the side of the house. And I got to call the dryer repair guy and whatever. And when we do that, when we get it all out, we can actually go back and start seeing like and I actually literally just made a video like about this yesterday. That's going to come out. It's at the editor now. What is urgent and important? Those are the things you do now. What's not urgent, but is important, you planned those things. And then everything else put by the wayside for right now. There are too many things going on in the beginning of the year. A lot of that anxiety we feel is excitement also, and those things feel exactly the same. So it's making the list, taking a breath, knowing that there's going to be ongoing work for the whole year, and then just resting in that, and then knocking down the things that are important. And look, we overestimate what we can get done in a day or a week, but we often underestimate what we can get done in a couple of weeks, in a month, in, more than that. So it's like getting those routines down. Now I'll say the last thing for me is I love systematizing things. I love optimizing things. That's what my life is. So it's not routine.
We have a very busy life that we have to do those.
Feels so good.
It does. It does.
It's like you just know.
But you have to know in that. I think what stopped me from, I'm not natural like you. Like I don't naturally use those things, and I actually fight against them, even though they're really helpful. For me, it's knowing that I don't have to stay in that like rigidness. Like it's the rigidness that gives some fluidity to your day, the ability to have fluidity without feeling chaos. It's that you're shifting the decision. It's like not just like craziness and anxiousness and overwhelmed. It's organized and well thought out and planned if you need that schedule. But if not, you have the flexibility in it. But it feels like options and flexibility because you're organized. And when you're not, it just feels like anxiousness and overwhelm.
You're the best non-co-host I could ask for.
Oh, I will see. That's why I need a mic, because I can't. I'm too opinionated to stay quiet completely.
I know about you.
That's like against my nature.
You know, real quick, what it makes me think of is like when there's a metronome in music, and I always call it metrodome. I think it's pronounced metronome. I don't know. Someone in here is a music person, but metrodome is one of those things that you set and it has the timer and lets you know exactly when the timing is. And so when you're playing a song, you could just play like on the beat, like a 4/4 beat. And as a drummer, I know you can just hold that. Boom, da, do, da. You could do that. But when you play jazz, you're off beat all the time. You're taking it right to the edge of being almost like sound like you're going to mess up and then bringing it back. And I think that that's what creating those rhythms in your life does, is that you, at least you know where to go back. So when you do jump back in the beat, that constant pumping beat is there. That's why I like doing those sorts of things. And it gives me a lot of peace knowing that, like, I know what to do tomorrow. I know what I'm going to do the next day and what I'm doing today and at what time. And yeah,
it does. It helps. I'm not always, I'm so stubborn and resistant to it, but I will say that it is the absolute way to go. Like I'm still like trying to get my online calendar in order, but it's taking me so long. But every step I get closer, I'm like, oh yay.
Yeah.
Oh yay.
No, it's exciting.
And it's freeing, and it's a little like, it reduces my anxiety is what I'm
then
finding.
The kids know what to do and we know what's
Yeah.
going on today. And it's like,
It's been pretty
it's
nice.
awesome.
But it is a lot of work to set up initially. Okay, so our next question is coming from Lori. She's asking, I'm a new success room teacher, Detention. The kids want...
Wait, hold, let's just stop there.
I know, that kind of miffed me also.
That's a conversation. I'd love to hear about that. Go ahead.
So you're just a... Well, not just a... But
no, but
what
like,
does that mean? Well, I don't even know what that would look like.
But the fact that they call it success room, and the fact that there's an educator. All right. So
Someone
usually ours is
designated.
like a security guard that's like basically falling asleep in the front of them. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. It says the kids want to act up so they can come to my class. I can't be mean, but don't want them walking all over me.
All right. Love this. So this is a question all the time that I get from educators that are building relationships with students, because building relationships with students will at some point turn into, what's the matter, babe?
Oh, it's my pen.
Oh,
I found it.
You, are going to get to a point where you got to call somebody on something because they're a teenager, and 9 times out of 10 they're going to do something goofy or dumb or without thinking about it. And so when a kid does that, and you have to call them on it, like, hey, you can't curse or do this or run around or whatever it is, there's always a moment where like a kid gets real salty about it, and they're like, you like, I thought we were cool, Reynolds, but I thought we were cool. And I remember one of my greatest examples was when, if you watch my videos for a while, there was a kid named Ham. So being all the videos, and Ham, I think I can say this with certainty. Ham was the most inappropriate student I've ever taught. Always going too far. He would literally like say stuff and then look over at me, and I'm like, bro, I'm not playing. Like, you'll never be allowed in the room. I'm calling your mom right now. And so
I always felt like you were so mean to him when you would tell me stories and came home. I'm like, be nice to him. No, I get it.
But it's this. It's having tough conversations in love. And so I tell kids all the time, like when a kid comes at me like that, like, yo, I thought we were cool. We are. My answer is we are cool. We are cool. But I care about you so much that I'm not going to let you, like, you're messing it up. You're the one doing the thing that you're doing. You're the one acting a fool. You're the one saying that or doing that or touching that or bothering someone or being a bully right now. Like, I'm going to shut that down because I care about you. But what kind of friend doesn't call you on your stuff? Your best friends in the world are the ones that you've had difficult conversations with, that you've had difficult moments with. And although, like, my students, I let them know, like, I'm not their friend in high school. Like, I want to be like a mentor or a coach to you. And I have students that, as they've gotten older, we are friends now. But like, no, I want to be more than that. So of course I'm going to call you on it. And no, you can't come. Like, if this is the way you want to go, you cannot come to the success room after school, because this is a time carved out for specific students that need care. Right. And when you show up, you're going to take my attention away from them. And I really need to focus on them. So if you really care about me, what you're going to do is not show up and take that attention away. Because we're always going to get down. We're always going to hang. Like and then make a date. Let's do lunch tomorrow. Let's do what are y'all doing like Thursday after school? I don't have anything that day. Like let's hang out and talk and see what's going on or whatever. But it is telling them the truth in love, and then telling them what they're doing by helping you out. It's empowering them, and then giving them a time when you are going to get down, right? And so that builds that in, and it works every time. Money back guarantee on that one.
All right, our next question is coming from Marcel. Any advice for adding rigor to an honors level English class? I've only taught general basic level classes, but we'll have honor sections. What's the main difference to your approach? Thanks.
So the main difference a lot of times is the level at which where my expectations lie with regards to so let's say you're teaching a high level English class. It's the concepts can be a little trickier. Like you can have higher level conversations, and kids are generally more willing to have those conversations because there's a confidence that comes with being an honors level class, right? When you feel like your honors level, it's like there's a bravado that comes with that. And so it's easier to get kids to have those conversations with one another, with you, to get up, to act, to participate in something. And but even for kids that don't like talking, like they're writing, there's more of an ability to kind of have like deeper thoughts, ideas, and things. That's not exclusively an honors thing at all. Like I haven't taught honors in a very, very long time, but I still hang with those kids all the time, and I did it for years. Now the other thing is I raised the bar with regards to when I am grading a piece of writing. I'm much harder on students in an honors class than I would be there are times in my classes now that I look at writing and I'm like, that's basically a full sentence. That's basically a full sentence. And anyone else might look at it and go, that's not a full sentence. And I'm like, no, but basically, I think that's, I get what they meant because I'm grading them on a different level. I'm using a different rubric basically for them. So things just get harder to do. And then the pacing is much quicker, right? I'm not, what I might take to do 5 weeks with one class. So for instance, we used to read the Odyssey in Old English in my honors class. And it was in my lower level classes with kids that still struggled with reading, we would do audiobooks, we'd use graphic novels, we'd read parts of other versions of the Odyssey. So it was I'm trying to find things that are on students' levels. Now, look, that's not going to stay the same every single year. This year's honors class might be very, very different than what you're going to have next year. And so it's about getting to know those students and then pivoting where needed, Chris Carson's favorite word, so that you can find things that are challenging to those particular students. So yeah, that's just a few things.
All right, our next question comes from Maisha. She's asking, this school year, I will be teaching a class that will be not based on traditional grading. How can I transition to what I've been used to doing for decades to standard-based grading?
Gosh, that's a good question. It's one of those questions that I almost feel like I would need a bit more of an insight to know what we're talking about.
Good thing you can get that from Maisha.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you want to talk about it, we can talk about that for sure. But I don't, we have her number, right? She has my number. Just text me and we'll set it up. But outside of that, I wonder if anyone in the group has dealt with this before. If anyone has any experience in you went from teaching one way and even if you have something that's not in traditional grading, if you're doing standards-based grading, as opposed to if you've had to switch it up. And so if you have, give Maisha some ideas on how to do that.
Have you never had to do that?
Let me say this, love.
Oh, did I put you on the spot?
You did.
I'm sorry, my bad.
But here's the thing. It's one of those answers that I don't always love giving because last year they had us, like they changed the whole grading policy, and we used to be point based. So like everything was just worth points. And the reason we did that is because it made sense in kids' heads that tests and quizzes being worth this much and classwork being worth this much and homework being worth this much. And then you had to have this many quizzes and this many tests and this much classwork. And it was like, it was slowly moving the school into like a scripted lesson plan thing, which is what they're going into this year. But I just didn't do it. I didn't want to switch to that because I knew it was going to be confusing for students and they weren't going to find more success. And so I just didn't do it. And I set up everything as a summative assessment. We're supposed to have like formative assessments, summative assessments, and other.
This is so interesting. So I read your DISC assessment. I read the 22-page report on you. And in it definitely says that you are, one of the things that offends you, where people get offended about you, is that you're often a rule breaker because you find you like do this thing where you calculatedly look at things and you often break rules when you find a better way. It cracked me up when I read that part. I was like, oh my God, this test is so creepily like spot on in some areas. That one cracked me up when I read.
I do. I can't stand when we make decisions and we don't really fully think about it. And so when we do that, when schools have done that in the past, I always do what I want.
It's not even schools. It's a lot of you find that just through like policies and procedures with companies, businesses, like that sort of stuff. Anything. And like, it really just you're
but I go both ways, right? I either
follow
just
the
say no. No, I mean, like I either like if I don't like the way something is, I either just decide I'm not going to do it. Like when I decide I'm not going to meetings, like when I decide I'm not going to
that's your rule breaker side.
1,000 things. Or I try and razzle dazzle people, and I razzle dazzle you into like, hey man, like here's how we should be doing or how I should be doing. I know this is for everyone else, but like here are the students that I'm teaching. But it all comes out of the same place, which is a place of like, I just want kids to find success.
Right.
And if what you're doing is dumb, then I don't.
Is this some insight?
Right. Because it's like one of those things
I hear
where
you.
Parents will hit me up and they're like, Reynolds, why is this like this all of a sudden? Or like, why are they doing it this way? And I go, I don't know, but I'm going to tell you what, I'm not doing it that way. I'm going to do it like this. And it's still rigorous. It's still holding kids accountable. It is still, but it is like sometimes you make these decisions that just don't. So that's why I didn't give that piece of advice, because I would just be like, listen, I'll put it on paper like that, or sometimes I don't even like. Yeah, I just didn't do it last year.
Well, so Lopez just called you CJ the loophole seeker. Maisha did say that she'll hit you up though. She doesn't know enough about it herself yet.
Yeah, please let me know. I'd be happy to talk to you.
Okay. All right. Our next question is coming from Jay. Any general advice for a first-year teacher in inner city Philadelphia, specifically in regard to building relationships and classroom management? I got my first job at a public charter.
Whoa, where are you at?
Yay. Yeah, we need a little bit more details on what that.
So, gosh, first is McCusker's Tavern. McCusker's Tavern's on 17th and Shunk, and then when you have a hard day,
sign up for the boot camp if you're a first-year teacher.
It's my favorite bar in the city, and it's the only place you can drop my name in, and it might actually mean something. Couldn't even do that at my house. So shout out to McCusker's Tavern. I would say, there's different sections of Philly. So did he say where?
Yeah, First Philadelphia Prep Charter.
Yeah, where is that? We're in Philly. What part of Philly are you in? We're getting in the weeds on this one.
You can get nitty gritty since you know the area.
So let me know when that answer comes up, or if
it takes a second.
So Philly is so different that if you teach in Albany or Northeast or West or North Philly or South Philly, it is so wildly different. So you might think your demographic might, like, the kids might look the same, right? Like, so you might have like all kids that look like they're from the same race, religion, background, neighborhood.
Tacony Street, do you know where that is?
I think so. That's out there a little bit. Oh, we just said it.
Oh, near Frankfurt and Bridesburg.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So so what you want to do is
Northeast Philly.
Yeah. Is get really familiar with the neighborhood in which you're teaching, right? Do most people own homes? Do they rent homes? Are they transient? Like, are people coming in and out of the neighborhood? What do they love? What brings people together? Is there a strong football community, church community? There, it is learning about where the values lie in the neighborhood, and that's going to give you incredible insight on your students. I think the other thing is and this is a tricky one, right? Not everyone likes this answer. It is finding out what your kids like, what your kids love, what lights them up, what they do in their off time, and then either trying it or going to it or eating it or supporting them in it. So when my guys, I remember first time I ever got cheesesteak in at like a Poppy store, like a corner store in West Philly, and I was going with some kids, and they were like, "Yo, what do you get on your cheesesteak, Reynolds?" And I was like, "Cheese, bro, like maybe some fried onions." They're like, "What? You got to get like," and it was like salt, pepper, oregano, mayonnaise. It was all the things you could get on it, and I'm like, "Bro, what is this? What is this, like Mrs. Dash made a cheesesteak all of a sudden?" And they kept telling me my cheesesteak was dry. So I was like, all right, bro, you know what? Get me whatever you want.
I will say that changed our cheesesteak game.
Because now we take our cheesesteak to the next healthy level. We put mayonnaise on it every single time. And which they tease me about too. But they're like, just mayonnaise? I'm like, bro, I already tried to up my game. Anyway, what I'm getting at here is it is trying the food, going to the places, supporting the kids. When everyone's talking in West Philly about being at Cobbs Creek Park or being at Malcolm X Park, like knowing where that is. If they're playing ball down at the Christie Rec Center and they're telling a story about it, I want to know exactly where that is because I went there before. When they're talking about going home and taking the L, I got to know that you got to get on the G bus to go up to the L to take the L to get to Center City. So you have this know-how, because this is what happens is most teachers that don't come from the neighborhood they teach in, especially inner city, they helicopter in. Then once they helicopter in, they helicopter back out. They take the same way to school every single day because we're creatures of habit, which is fine, but it's intentionally going to things, intentionally getting experiences. And then I think really building relationships with students. And there's a bunch of videos on the YouTube channel about that. And that's something we're going to really dive into in the back to school boot camp, is like how to build the deepest relationships with students super fast and to connect with parents, which are going to be like a huge resource for you. But it's starting to do that. I always say, like, if you teach in inner city, like, or just in the city, for my students, it's going to a church and going to the barbershop. It will give you incredible insight into the community with which you're teaching.
John Lopez again in the comments said, "Who are the people in your neighborhood?" Right, like it's
neighborhood.
Basic Sesame Street, like 101 of getting to know the people in your neighborhood.
I was pretty sure no one would get that reference when I did it either. I should have known Lopez was in there.
How? That's a great reference. All right, our next question comes from Miss Gonzalez. Do you have a suggestion to where to purchase large, inexpensive kites? I want to hang them from my ceiling, but the ones that I found on Amazon are meh, and other ideas welcome also.
What about, I feel like Oriental Trading Company would have good stuff.
I would try to find them somewhere online, like wholesale, other than Amazon.
Who else has weird? Oh, what's that other weird ass app we were using with Ryan? Wish?
Oh, Wish.
I'll bet you they have stuff on there. Wish, be careful. There's some real weird stuff on there. There's no filter.
It's like an Amazon, but like you can get all kinds of inappropriate stuff as well.
But you can get really funny stuff, like for really cheap on there. But I feel like Oriental Trading would be the move. The other thing is, businesses have money built in to give back. So if you go to Five Below and say, "Hey, can I speak to your manager? Hey, I'm a local art teacher and this is where I teach and this is what I do. We're looking for kites. Would you be able to donate anything to our school?" You're making it about kids. Don't make it about, "I want my room to look really great." Even though that's what you're doing, but we know that you're doing that for kids and you're doing it for you too. Like I like teaching in an awesome room, but going to local stores and letting them know who you are. Let them know the great work that you're doing and say, "Hey, we're doing this thing with the kids. Do you have any kites that you could donate to us?" And just seeing what they say. Because, I did this one time at Home Depot. That was the first time I ever did it. and they gave me everything to create a garden at my school, from the lumber to the dirt to the plants to the drill to the screws, like hammers, everything. And they said, yeah, we have a line in the budget to be able to give away to community members for stuff, and it was awesome.
I feel like any little stores that do like seasonal stuff or like
Christmas
tree
shop.
shop. I don't know if where that is, how big of a company that is, but places like that I would find. And I think you're right, asking people, but it is going to be hard. They said in the comments, like, it's a possible seasonal item, so it could be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I would go.
You could also can you make your, well, I don't know how much time you got, but could you make your own out of some,
really thought about that, but
I just think out of the plastic, like, tablecloths.
Yeah, at the dollar store.
Perfect to stretch, and I don't know. That's
time consuming. And like those long skewers that they have for roasted marshmallows on.
I'm sure she has some idea. She's an art teacher.
Yeah.
But buying them is probably a lot faster.
I'll tell you what, whenever we've needed to make something, we made all those cardboard TVs that time.
Oh,
it's really, or blowing up balloons. If you have old students, I forget how long you've been teaching, but like, we just call over old students, and I'm like, I will pay for snacks or beer, depending on how old they are. Do you want to come over and help me do stuff? And there's always kids.
Have a girlfriend night, a like kite building party.
Yeah.
Like, you can figure out something if they're too expensive or you can't find them. But
you gotta have the right friends for that one.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, a kite building.
And I would totally come. I'm so
Can't we just go to Five Below and I'll ask the manager for you.
Okay, our next question is coming from Zoe. She's saying, I'm the mentor for an apprentice teacher next year. What advice do you have for me to better support them? They have some experience, but not a huge amount of it is from standing in front of 30 kids.
Got it. So this is a great question. I've never had a student teacher. Why haven't I had a student teacher? Wife.
Oh, I wasn't.
Sorry.
I wasn't
my
paying
bad.
attention. I was reading comments. Why haven't you had a student teacher?
Yeah.
I don't know. I forget.
Why do I have to drive the car all the time?
Oh, because you're just in control. Like, you can't give people the reins. It's too
hard
hard.
I have a hard time with that. So if I were to have a student teacher or an apprentice, it is about letting them, it's knowing that nothing can go too far that can't be fixed, especially if you have some experience or mastery in the classroom, you can always bring it back. And letting people fail, letting people try, and reminding yourself that, I'll say this, I haven't had it. I just totally downplayed myself. I haven't had a student teacher, but you know what I have had is like 8 co-teachers. And when I
didn't want to interrupt you. I was going to say, Kayla is the best, and you do let people take the reins if they're capable. I don't know. Sometimes I just
I've let people take the reins when they were completely incapable, and they were the worst co-teacher a human being could possibly imagine. True. But Kayla was my co-teacher for the last 3 years. Overall, best person I ever co-taught with. Now, there were other people with strengths, like my man Fines was on fire. He was incredible. But he was messy. I'm going to be honest with you, Fines. No, I love him. He's like one of the best human beings.
You're just two different dudes.
It was
two different personalities.
It's almost like when you have a really good friend. If you ever lived with a friend that you're like, I love you, but we shouldn't live together. So when Kayla and I taught together, it was just so synergistic that like we really flowed together well. But there were plenty of times when she wanted to do something, and I was like, I don't know about that. But this was her unit. That was her plan. That was her part of the day. This was whatever it was. It is learning to incorporate other people's ideas and not just thinking that your way is the only way to do it. And then creating safe space for them to reflect. One of the best things I had happen to me when I student taught was that gentleman I student taught with wrote on notes. I got about 5 notes every day. Not too much stuff, not too little, but it was like, here's 5 things I want to see you change tomorrow, or work on tomorrow, or mention tomorrow, or do whatever. And it was like bite-sized advice. It was like just enough that I'm like, okay, I can rework this into my lesson, and that really helped.
All right, our next question is coming from Multi-Sooner 1.
Yep.
All right, what advice do you have for a first-year junior high sped teacher?
So there's a lot of advice I have for this. I have this is again, this would be something really great for the back to school
just
boot
a workshop
camp.
or something.
Yeah,
like to do, because there's so much.
Yeah,
there.
and I have there's like, I'm trying to think of like, there's a lot of videos for back to school that I have, but the thing that I'm thinking of the most, especially junior high sped. So junior high kids are, what's a good word to put it? They're insane. And so because you are like, if you're seventh, especially eighth grade in a school that only goes to eighth grade, you're top dog, right? You're top dog at 13. You're a boss all of a sudden, right? Like you're just like 13, 14 years old. You feel like you're the be all end all. And that plus hormones, like, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, we live in a house full of hormones right now.
Oh, heavens.
And
yes.
It is like, I didn't think my hair was going to get whiter, but it just keeps getting whiter and whiter and whiter and whiter. And I think some of it's falling out. Then you add special education on top of that. Ooh. I think the move, first of all, as much as I just like kind of laughed at that, sounds freaking awesome to me, right? Like, it's like I literally get excited to think of like, oh yeah, like little wackos and they're all fun group, different and don't fit the mold of like maybe like regular education, and they have like struggles and ideas, and whew, man, it just sounds like a freaking pile of awesome to me. So what I would do with that, the first thing is letting kids know, one, yo, I'm so stoked to be here. Because chances are a lot of kids I feel like that are in that particular situation have like been passed on, they've been forgotten about, they've been pushed along. And it's like saying the buck stops here. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what the buck is. Is it a horse? Is it a dollar? The buck stops here. But I want this, deer. This year is going to be awesome. It is going to be fantastic. And I am so thrilled that you're in my class. And so it's building that anticipation. It's letting kids know that get put in rooms where they just look around, they go, it's all the bad kids. It's all the kids that get in trouble. It's all the kids that don't do well. It's all the kids that have a one-to-one aid, or they have to be in the co-taught classroom, and say, no, this is the best. And it has to be like this, because otherwise everyone's going to be in our class. So like, just keep it on. Don't let everyone know how amazing this is, but it's going to be awesome. The next thing I would do is contact every single parent, either by email or by phone, and just ask these two questions. One, what is something that your three questions? What is something that your student is that I should know about your student that I wouldn't know from looking at a 504 or an IEP or last year's grades or comments from their teachers? What is something that you could tell me about them that's going to help me to teach them better? And then ask, what's their favorite class, favorite teacher they ever had, and why? And what was their least favorite class? And so you're not looking for trash talk on a teacher, but what is the thing about that class that made it so hard, right? Like, do they have a hard time sitting still? Do they just not, like, math isn't their jam? They struggle with reading. They don't like group work. They don't like whatever it is. Those three questions will give you an enormous amount of insight on who your students are. And then the other part is just getting them locked and loaded, like they're going to be, like, this is going to be an awesome year, and you're so excited about it. Got another one for me?
I do.
You're typing over there.
Oh, stink. I actually don't.
You want me to just make up a question?
No, actually, I have a question. Juan is asking, going back into teaching high school after 2 years, going into advanced English for 11th and 12th grade, any tips on how to get these students engaged? It's my first time teaching advanced.
So awesome. Juan, I would say in teaching older students, kids really want to be thought of as adults. They really want to be, they don't always act like adults. Sometimes they still do childish stuff, and they have excuses, and they don't do the work. And but if we're talking about helping kids get ready for college and beyond, or for just the workforce, it is, I think, one, talking and treating kids like they're adults, and just having conversations and talking to them like regular human beings. That goes really, really far. The other thing is, how can we make what we're learning real world applicable, right? Like the real world, and look, even saying that is like, some of your kids already live in the real world. Kids are like raising people at home and having to hold down jobs to help their parents and stuff like that. But, this after high school moment is, whether you're a junior or a senior, it's 5 minutes away. It's right there. It's coming up, and you're not even going to believe it when it happens. So how can we make everything we're doing have a why, have a reason? And it can't be to the best of your ability, cannot be because we have to, because it's on the test, because it's on whatever. Let's make this into something that's real. Because learning how to speak, learning how to form your thoughts, learning how to be an active listener, knowing how to have a real debate, discussion, how to hold your point up, how to hold your ground, how to write, how to read is so utterly important. But it's sharing with students why that is so important. Why is this book important? Why is learning how to write this essay important? Why is learning how to do whatever it is? You have to, like, as much as possible, ground what you're doing in what's going to become important for students, so they're actually preparing for something. And those don't always look like the thing that they are, right? It's like, when I think about, like, I don't know why I just went to Karate Kid, but like Daniel-san didn't know that Mr. Miyagi was like going to teach him karate when he was like doing wax on, wax off, or painting the fence or sanding the floor. So sometimes the things don't look like it, but you have to show the connecting piece of, like, look, I know this looks like we're just studying grammar over here or something of that nature, or reading a bunch of essays and talking about them, but it's good for you to have an opinion. It's good for you to ground yourself in something and to be able to speak for it or against it, to listen to someone else's point of view, to be able to thoughtfully respond to someone's point of view, to be able to do that in writing. It's doing that, I think, is what I would focus on.
All right, are we
good?
I mean, we can keep going.
Do one more.
Okay. This is an easy one. Frida is asking, quick question, please. Where can I find the music track you use at the back as background music to make kids' presentations more vivid? The one you use that levels up their presentation. I
go on. There's a lot of different places I pull from. I will look for. I use. What is the kind of beat that I'm thinking of?
Lo-fi?
Lo-fi beats on YouTube. Just type in lo-fi. If you go to YouTube and you type in YouTube audio, there's a bunch of free stuff on there that you can use. And most of them have no words, and they've been vetted by YouTube. So they're like all different lengths. So you can get ones that are 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour. And what I'm looking for is something that's going to amplify, something that's going to level up the experience of what we're doing in class. And to do that, though, it's I don't want anything a lot of times that kids know. Now, sometimes I do. Sometimes I play stuff kids know. But, like, by and large, I just want something that's creating the vibe. So then that way you can go through those files, and there's not going to be like so a lot of DJs, a lot of people that put stuff up, they have a part in there. So there's a guy that I work with, Kia Orion, and every once in a while in his song, it just goes, Orion.
Oh, so you can't copy it.
And yeah, but it's, but that becomes a thing where kids just start going, Orion.
Oh, you'll still use it?
Orion. I use it in class all the time. Yeah, Orion. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I go and find stuff that doesn't have someone saying, Orion.
Yes. Don't say it again. Thank you.
Jenna.
I'm done.
Jenna.
Oh, somebody said Ambient Worlds is a great channel for background music.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even like using cool screensavers. Like I use I have a video coming out talking about this too, but I have a lot of videos coming out. This year's gonna be like video.
Well, it's because we've been backed up. Like I think last year, what'd you put out, like actual videos other than Sunday Night Teacher Talk? Maybe
no,
5?
Not a lot. But this year, I mean, I have like Kayla and I are gonna film one based on like student teaching. There was one on like how to use your smartboard in class that I did. So like I use this background on my giant Samsung board that is just jellyfish floating around, and it has a timer on it, and it is the best, and the kids love it, and it just creates the right vibe at the beginning of class. So look, gang, I think here's what I'm thinking about this year. We want to be able to help with anything that we can. So please, if you think of a video idea of something you would love for us to talk about, of something that you wish your school did PD on, drop us a message. You can send us a DM. You can send us a message right through realrapwithreynolds.com. You go right onto the website. You can hit contact, and it goes right to my email. And then either my assistant or my wife will pull those out, and then we'll get right back to you. Facebook message, wherever. But what we're trying to do is create stuff that we know people want and people need. And one of the things we're really working on this year is how there are certain things that I am just not the professional on, but where can we find those people? And we've done this a bit in the past, but it's really dialing that in this year. So getting like specialists on and really creating what my friend Sarah calls a heavy, deep, and real moment for educators, so they can really dive in and learn about things like, you know, whether it's dyslexia or dysgraphia or processing or trauma, and really trying to create content that's going to be really, really deeply impactful for educators so that you can be the educator that you're called to be. So that's it, gang. Anything else you need from us, you can get right at the website or go right to our Facebook group, Real Rap Reynolds Teacher Talk, or follow us on social media. Anything else, wife?
Nope.
Just keep an ear out. We're going to drop soon about what we're going to do for this workshop and what that's going to look like. The back to school boot camp is coming
Soon. Very soon.
That's it, right?
Yep, that's it. Have
Cool.
a great week, everybody.
See you next week, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Peace.